And good morning. You're now listening to Kingston Community Radio, airing on FM 92.5 and AM 920, WGHQ, Kingston, New York. This programming is brought to you by our listeners and corporate underwriters who are interested in presenting local community radio. The opinions expressed on this program do not represent those of Pamel Broadcasting or Kingston Community Radio. Listeners are encouraged to send in $10 per month to help bring this program to you. Mail your contributions to Kingston Community Radio, Post Office Box 4364, Kingston, New York 12402. For more information or to donate online, visit our website at mykcr.org. Good morning. This is Dan Gatis, and thank you for tuning in, sharing the morning with us, 7 to 9 a.m. every weekday, except for yesterday. We were 7 a.m. till 5 p.m. for the Happy Christmas Fund. And thank you for contributing and being a part of that. It's 27 degrees right now here in Uptown Kingston on this November 5th, and we'll be right back after these messages.
This fall, give us your best shot. Your photo of the Hudson Valley's autumn scenery could be worth $750. Enter Central Hudson's 9th annual Fall Foliage Contest today. If your photo gets the most likes on our Facebook page, you win. Deadline to enter is November 5th. For contest rules and information on how to submit your photo, go to Central Hudson's Facebook page or visit centralhudson.com.
No word in the English language is less convincing than probably.
Are you sure we should get matching tattoos on our first date?
Sure. We'll probably stay together.
Probably?
It's been 23 minutes since I ate. I can probably swim.
You should wait 30 minutes.
Okay, now tell me what to do. Cannonball! Cramp! Oh, I have a cramp.
I can probably hit the green from here.
Probably.
Can I get a mulligan?
Ready to go?
Hey, are you sure you're okay to drive?
Yeah, I'm pretty sober. Yeah, I'm probably okay.
Probably okay isn't okay, especially when it comes to drinking and driving. If you're drinking, call a cab, a car, or a friend. Buzzed driving is drunk driving. A message brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Hi, this is Dina Roy from Hurley, and I support the Kingston Community Radio, and so should you.
And we're back. You're listening to KCR, Kingston Community Radio, WGHQ, 920 on your AM dial, 92.5 FM, and streaming online at mykcr.org. 331-9255 is our call-in number, 331-9255. And today, it's a fabulous Friday with Rick Remsnyder. And good morning, Rick. How are you? How you doing? How you all doing there?
Well, I'm doing great. It's like 2 days in a row on Kingston Community Radio. That's yesterday had
exactly,
the
yes.
8:30 spot and over at Boyce's Dairy. So that was a great day, and I heard we did pretty well. So thanks for all those people who came out. And
generally 3/4 of the way to the goal.
That's fantastic.
3/4 of the way to the goal. The goal this year is $100,000, and we're close, very close to $70,000 right now. Probably already there.
Good. Well, I'm glad to hear that. We thank the community for that. It's a worthwhile cause. The only thing I'm going to have to say next year, I'm going to have to talk to Lawrence about scheduling me a little later because it's kind of hard to eat ice cream 8:30 to 9 o'clock in the morning over at Boyce's Dairy, I guess you could.
I guess there could be some kind of ice cream breakfast, right?
They have plenty of treats, though. So, it's it was nice to have Mayor Noble stop by and got to chat with him a little bit. And Christine Hine popped in amongst a lot of people donating. So that was a lot of fun, actually.
We had about 30 different hosts.
Wow.
Throughout the course of the day. You started it out.
Yeah.
After Tony and Lawrence, you started it right out.
Yep.
With the first visiting guest, and then it's about 30 more.
Yeah, I got to see Don Williams. I haven't seen Don for a while, and he was next. So, yeah, that was quite an impressive lineup. It was all uphill after me, you know. So
all uphill. Yeah, I have a list. I'll finally find it if you keep queuing.
Yeah. I mean,
but I do have a fantastic list, and it is worth thanking them all.
Yes.
For having come in.
Yes, it's plus, you know, it was a little nippy. And did you make it over there to Boyce's Brothers at the end of the day, or no?
Oh no! I was here, man.
The whole day.
The whole day.
Yeah,
I was.
So it was nice in the morning, and they had a table set up as you first came in, and of course had all these nice treats and millions of donuts and. We have to thank the people at Boyce's Dairy for being so hospitable and great hosts for the day, and so that was nice. George Post dropped by with one of my loyal friends and callers, and erstwhile golfer at Green Acres. He stopped by, which was nice, and it was a really good day. I'm hoping
it was a really remarkable day.
Did you find that list or no?
I thought I popped it in with my cue sheets here, but I don't have it.
Well, anybody
it's a
that
great
hosts
tribute anyway.
We thank them all.
And it's a great tribute to Walter Maxwell.
Yes,
who between him and Harry Thayer founded the Happy Christmas Fund.
Yeah, well, they've raised a ton of money through the years, which is nice, and certainly, like I said before, a worthwhile cause. It was nice to talk to Mayor Noble. I hadn't seen him a while because, as you know, I'm a big sports fan, and we're talking about the renovations at Deese Stadium, so that got a little update on that. And even though it was a little noisy and a little hard to hear on occasion, I believe the mayor said that next year Kingston High School will be playing football and then at the stadium, and then once they're done with the season, they're going to have the renovation start, and the following year Kingston High football will be on the road. So I believe it's a little over, and if Steve you're listening and I'm wrong, I apologize. You can call in and correct me, but I believe the construction is going to be happening after that. I see Dan has come up with a list. Let's hear that illustrious lineup.
Fantastic tribute to everyone who came in to host. Obviously, Rick Remsnyder kicked us off at 8:30 after Tony and Lawrence did all the welcoming and introductions, and then Don Williams with Tony Marmo keeping him in check. Crystal Palumbo, sales manager from Stewart's Shop, popped in. Wayne Winkler, Guy Greco, came in from the Mid-Hudson Valley Federal Credit Union, who is a great underwriter, and Kingston Lions Club, who is also a great underwriter, Kevin Gilfeather. John Burlingham and Dory Dabney came in, and 11 a.m. to 12, the very, very great Bob Circasano and Greg Shorvis kicking through about $10,000 during, at least that much, during their hour. And the same with law enforcement from 12 to 1 for a whole hour. We had Eric Benjamin, Chief Berardi. I think Egidio Tinti popped in for a little while. Marianne DeGroot kept them under control. And Mario Restivo from New York State Police. He's the captain now. And Jennifer Fabiano and let's see who else. Kathleen and a couple other people from Rondout Savings Bank. And then Val Dwyer and Tony Marmo did a great job between 1:30 and 2. And Dr. Ed Alio did an enormously good job for being a tenderfoot with this operation here. 2 o'clock to 2:30, Dr. Ed Alio really raised a lot of good money too.
That's great.
And then we had Dennis Larios from Bernier and Larios at 2:30 and 3, 2:30 to 3, and then Bill Cuervis, Ulster Savings Bank, and a couple other team members from Ulster Savings Bank were there, and they are also a KCR underwriter, 3 to 3:30, and then Bill Calderera of Ulster Savings Bank, and a couple other people from, Richard Catabiani from the Kingston Rotary Club, because they kind of represented both Ulster Savings Bank and the Rotary Club at the same time, 3:30 to 4. And then Mario Catalano and Hugh Reynolds comes in at 4, and from 4 to 4:30. Thank you, guys. They did a great job, too. And then Cameron Rylance and Nina Postjapak closed the day.
Wow. So I didn't stick around, obviously. I popped in, listened to it occasionally. How long did Lawrence and Tony stay for? Were they the whole time?
They were there. Just like me here. They were there for the entire duration.
Wow.
All the way from 7 a.m. Well, actually, Lawrence got there at 6 a.m. And we did a sound check at about 6:30, and we were ready to go from 7 a.m. till 5 p.m.
Wow, I'd give them a lot of credit for what job well done there the whole day.
Yes, essentially Tony was there the entire day.
Wow.
As well as Lawrence.
Lawrence told a funny story about when his father was alive and how the technology has changed. I don't know if you were listening or not, but he said they had this little box there that I'm not that tech savvy, but you know.
Yeah, it was a Marty, probably a Marty box that you can take, and you can actually use the Marty amplifier on site and take it, and that's your transmitter.
Right. In the old days, he said he was sort of out there with an antenna.
Exactly.
His father oh no, move this way. Oh, a little higher, a little lower.
To get to the station, yes, right. And then you had a receiver's antenna at the station at the time, because you didn't have phone connection.
Right.
You had to do it with RF.
Wow.
Now we're back to that.
Yeah, it's technology has advanced a little bit, but I didn't. That was
it comes
a funny
back around. Yeah,
funny story that Lawrence was talking about him and his father. So well deserved. I don't see Lawrence here this morning, so well deserved day off, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Yep.
So
it is a well deserved day.
So what else is going on today? It's a little nippy out there. If you don't have, I still don't have my scraper. I don't know where it is. So
right. Yeah, you'll dig it up. And, so far it's just been a little bit of frost on the windows, and I just went out 10 minutes early just to make sure the car warmed up and I had a windshield.
Well,
because it was frosty, yeah.
Yeah, not a bad move. So, it's I'm covering some high school football games this weekend. They're starting the Section 9 playoffs, so that's going to be a little chilly tonight at 7 o'clock when I cover a game at Wallkill. But
oh, wow. That's fantastic. That's got to be a lot of fun. You do play-by-play?
No, I work for some newspapers in southern Ulster County, and I cover, so I write stories and take photos.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I do mostly southern Ulster County. Teams like Marlborough are really good. Wallkill's good this year. Highland, occasionally Newburgh. So this weekend's the Section 9 playoffs. So it's a little bittersweet because this is the first year that they haven't had any playoff games at Dietz Stadium.
I see.
And unfortunately, the former Section 9 chairman and the person who was most responsible for getting games at Dietz Stadium, John Ford, former New Paltz coach and athletic director, passed away. So I don't believe they didn't put in a bid this year. Or if they did put in a bid, it didn't happen. And that's one of the reasons when I was talking to the mayor yesterday that it's really important that Dietz Stadium, that renovation goes through, because they're losing a lot of revenue to host not only playoff games, but all kinds of different high school sporting events that have now gone to places like Middletown High School, which has a great complex, Fowler Field. Goshen High School has a nice field now. So anyway, but it's fun to cover those high school games. Hopefully they'll get back to Kingston after they get the renovations in a couple of years, because that generates a lot of revenue.
Yes, and it'll probably be exponentially more revenue once the whole infrastructure of the stadium is complete.
Yeah,
because it's very deficient in many areas. With the vending and with the locker rooms and things like that, it's very deficient for the kind of conferences that want to use a good facility.
You're being very kind with the word deficient.
Okay. Yes, I haven't.
This more than deficient.
Yeah, and that's exactly why we have to. I guess Steve said that we're going to take a year to rebuild it.
Yeah, and they're going to need to replace the turf there. It's I don't know. It's been I don't want to. It's been at least 10 years, probably longer. But it's interesting that complex, even though it's not up to par, is very busy with people. The community at large walking around the track.
Absolutely. Everybody takes advantage of the sidewalks up above the stadium.
Yep.
And the paths into Forsyth Park.
Correct.
And then to the our little mini zoo.
Yep.
And all of the Nature Center gives, all that Nature Center offers. It's a fabulous footprint.
Yes.
There is no problem with the Dietz Stadium footprint.
Correct.
It's in great shape. When it comes to the amount of space it has and the amount of parking that's available is primo.
Yes, you're
very
right.
good.
And the thing about it that is good for playoff games that bring people from upstate and wherever, even Westchester and different places where they come in and have the quarterfinals, the semifinals, is the location is fantastic. Because it's so centrally located, people, the teams from the Albany area and further up Syracuse come down. And, not quite Syracuse. Syracuse is for the finals, but upstate mostly.
I see.
And, all you have to do is get off the thruway and bang, you're right there. So the location.
It's incredibly convenient, yes.
There's all kinds of hotels and restaurants right near
there.
the stadium.
Absolutely. There's 4 or 5 hotels right in the vicinity right there.
Yeah. So and I know that I believe the mayor said the price tag was somewhere in the neighborhood of 14, 15 million. So they're going to do an extensive renovation. Like you said, the bathrooms, the new concession stand, the locker rooms. So I'm really looking forward to that. But I won't be there this weekend. I'll be out on the road in places like Wallkill and Marlboro. But one thing, Dan. A lot of the local high schools in Ulster County are really ahead of the times because places like Marlboro and Wallkill have now they have turf fields. They're not grass anymore. They have the artificial turf. So
sure.
I'll go to other places outside the county and it'd be like a mud bowl. So Ulster County is a lot of the schools in the Rondell Valley has a great new complex
really
with like AstroTurf.
Well, it's a huge benefit to outfit your school with fabulous sports facilities and fabulous entertainment facilities. The auditoriums are oftentimes primo as well.
Yep. So we're really ahead of the game mostly in Ulster County. So what else is cooking? Anything? What are you up to this weekend? Anything exciting?
My weekend usually centers around serving French food.
Oh, right.
Yeah, for the time being. I'm usually at Le Canard Enchaîné Friday night and Saturday night, and we'll have a fabulous weekend. Had a great night last night, and it'll escalate and ramp up as we get closer to the seasons.
It's been how is the restaurant business still doing pretty well after the throes of the pandemic and what have you?
Yes. I think that those restaurants who held court and stayed along with the county mandates of just using outside, just doing takeout. First it was just doing takeout, and then it turned into just doing takeout and outside. You could use outside, so that became quite popular, very popular for those restaurants that stayed the course, as we would say. I think that most of the uptown restaurants that stayed the course and kept going are ramping up right now, and they're growing and they're doing very well.
Well, that's good to hear.
Yeah, very few closed, and I think that maybe 1 or 2 of them that did close might have been, on the teetering on closing anyway, or wanting to change course. A couple retired, think that kind of a thing. A couple restaurants in the vicinity,
right?
The people took the opportunity to retire, and.
Well, I could tell you one place that's doing well, and we're hoping to have the owner in a couple weeks is Moonburger. That place.
Oh my!
Jeremy.
What a hit! What a hit that restaurant is.
He hit that out of the ballpark,
That's
and
right.
it's just.
It was the perfect storm.
Yes,
It was.
I wondered.
Kudos to them.
Yeah, no.
And their biggest challenge right now is to create the workflow that's necessary for such volume, because they have quite a lot of volume, and you don't want people waiting 2 hours for their meal. 20 minutes is good, no problem.
Sure.
No problem there. But I would say that the biggest challenge is to get that workflow going, because they really hit a stride.
I can attest that the food is really good, and if you're a hamburger aficionado, it's not beef, but it's impossible to tell it's not beef.
Right.
The burger and the fries are very good, and so they have a basic menu, and I start to see the lines a little bit subsiding. I think they're starting to get the flow a little better, and people are maybe realizing that they can't show up at 6 o'clock and have a 10-minute, which is a 10-minute wait.
Right, yeah.
So you need to plan it a little better. But I'm sure things. I know Jeremy wants. I've seen the owner. I've seen him out there and thanking the people for coming and helping with the orders and what have you to move things along. So
you do everything when you're the proprietor. You do everything. You do the bathrooms. You do the floors. You do everything, and you are always in touch with the customers.
Yeah,
That's
and
good.
I wondered. I got to be honest with you. The location there. I wondered if that would be it's kind of a small area there, and they do the turnaround when they come in. But it's really working out well.
Good.
Yep,
good.
So I know that he's really enthusiastic. So I hope that I know he's busy. We'll try to get him on the air in a couple weeks. But
early morning is a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah, because usually it's found time. As we do
and
ourselves.
the thing I like not only about the food being great, but on the menu there's you can go there. And the QR code you can shoot the QR code, and it'll come up with places where you can visit and eat your meal locally. Nice little venues, which is I don't know who came up with that marketing.
That is
ploy.
very, very good. I mean, that is right down your alley. That is a really nice feature.
Yeah.
There's 4 picnic tables over at Forsyth or something like that, very close by.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good.
So I don't know who their marketing person is, but they might be Jeremy and the owner himself, but did a great job. And maybe some of the other takeout places would think of that down the road themselves. So, but he's obviously...
That is very progressive. That's very, very progressive to because it's a support system for the community.
Yes.
To provide that kind of park resources and things like that right there at the restaurant.
Yeah. So I'm glad they're doing well. I know Jean-Jacques is doing well.
This is true. Yeah.
And all of the other restaurants, great job.
Steak and Chops, which is across the street from us, is busy.
Yeah.
It keeps very busy. Downtown restaurants, forget about it.
I know.
You're in good shape. You got to make a reservation for Savona's, or it's a very good idea to make a reservation for Ship to Shore or Savona's. Savannah, not so much because there's so much seating, but But downtown is. Sometimes we never leave from downtown on our days off. We just hang out in the restaurants right downtown.
Yeah, I mean, they know what they're doing
Fantastic.
downtown. It's our tourism office used to be down there. So even though we work down there, I know that lunch was kind of the time to go for us because,
Oh, sure.
Dinner, we're done at 5, but, like you said, when you get there on the weekends from 5 o'clock on a Friday and throughout the Saturday and then Sunday, it's just, jamming.
It's jamming. It's jamming. And there's that new restaurant that's right up on Broadway, pretty much across from where your tourism office was. I can't remember the name of it, but it's a simple name. Wonderful place, and a little hard to get in.
Right.
They have shorter hours too, but it's similar to Moonburger. It's
not Mole or no.
Not Mole. No, Mole is it's always busy too.
Yeah, we're very fortunate that the restaurateurs we have obviously know what they're doing and know how to market their business, and the food is very good. So we're glad to have them. We're going to have in 2 weeks. We're going to have Jess Davis from Jess Delicious from the Ulster County Regional Chamber, and her thing is food and promoting food with videos, and so we can talk more about that when in a couple weeks. So we have.
We have Greg Hurinya.
All right. So very happy to welcome my good friend. Greg, how you doing this morning?
Hey, Rick. How's it going? I'm doing well.
Well, I'm doing great, and I appreciate you coming on early. And I wanted to get you on because we have the NBA season started already, and you're our resident NBA expert, and we want to talk a little bit about your alma mater, Marist basketball, too. So I'm sure you've been, for the listeners who have had John, I had John a couple months ago, just give us a quick a background and when you covered the Nets and who you did it for, and, of course, mention your fantastic book, which I have getting through. I'm not done yet, but I'm getting through it.
That's okay. There's no rush. So I covered the Nets starting in the 2009-2010 season. So that's when they were 12-70 and playing in the Izod Center. So they've certainly come a long way. I covered them for 7 years. During that time, I wrote a book called The 5-Year Plan, The Nets' Tumultuous Journey from New Jersey to Brooklyn. And it kind of highlighted all the things that they did under Billy King and former owner Mikhail Prokhorov to kind of a get-rich-quick scheme in terms of winning quickly instead of, I guess if you were to look at the Sean Marks Nets, where he plucked talent from and how he parlayed that into better players and better things. So it was looking at that previous regime and what they did, and I did that for 7 years. So 2016 was my last season, and the book is still available on Amazon and about almost 400 pages. So if you enjoy reading about basketball, it's available there.
Yeah, well, I tell people that it's you can get it. You can get it on Amazon, right?
Yeah.
That's how. So people, it's still out there. If you're a pro basketball fan and particularly a Nets fan, it's something interesting to read. A lot of good insight. You started at Marist. You were the beat writer for the men's team. And what year did you graduate from Marist?
Yeah, so that's how we met. So I mean, I started at Marist in 2005 and started covering that team in 2006, and then I graduated in 2009. So I had a couple years of varying experiences with covering Marist basketball. So I mean, if you think about my sophomore year when they had Jared Jordan and Will Whittington and those guys, and were picked to go to the NCAA tournament, even though they didn't quite get there. But and then it was a slow slog downhill after that, and so my senior year was the Chuck Martin Red Foxes, where they started struggling, and hopefully now they're coming back up the hill, and hopefully we're seeing a new brand of Marist basketball now. But towards the tail end there, the team wasn't as good as when I arrived at Marist in 2005.
Yeah, we'll get into Marist a little more later in the show, but I was covering, I'm sure you were there, when they had that shocking loss in Bridgeport in the semifinals lost to arch rival Siena, and I remember walking in the locker room and just seeing the faces of Jared Jordan, Will Winnington, and it was hard for those guys because they really had a great team, and it just didn't happen that afternoon. Although they did go on and win a game in the NIT, right?
Yeah, against Oklahoma State.
Right. So it was somewhat of a consolation. Well, let's talk about the Nets. I guess first and foremost, everybody has picked the Nets preseason. Pretty much all the experts have them, or the Lakers 1 and 2. So what's the deal with Kyrie? What's your prediction on Kyrie Irving? When is he coming back, or is he coming back?
Well, he's not going to come back if it's for getting the vaccine. So, I mean, his hope at this point is that at some point that New York City reverses that mandate. With Eric Adams winning his election, there's been a lot of talk that at some point they'll revisit that. It's hard for me to know. I mean, that's probably a better question for somebody from the CDC to know whether that's a good idea of reversing a mandate that seemingly worked. But from knowing him and, even from years of covering him and whatnot, I don't see him budging off of that. I think that this is the hill that, maybe a bad turn of phrase, but the hill that he wants to die on. He is stuck in on this position that he's not going to get the vaccine, and he doesn't want to put anything in his body or be told to put anything in his body that isn't a choice of his own. And you've seen other players, like Andrew Wiggins before the season was someone who was in a similar situation with the Golden State Warriors, where he wasn't going to be able to play if he didn't get vaccinated, and he wound up getting vaccinated because he didn't want to turn down the money and he wanted to play. In Kyrie's case, Kyrie is still making $17 million this year to not play basketball. So, there's not really a financial incentive for him to come back. I'm sure that he wants to play with Durant and Harden and all that, but I think that he's a very principled man, even if they're misguided principles, and so I don't see him at any point just showing up to practice one day saying, "Hey, I was at CVS last night and I got vaccinated." So I don't think we're going to look forward to that. I think that if he was going to budge off that stance, he probably would have done it months ago. So I think the best case scenario for the Nets is any local lawmaking change that says that a performer doesn't have to be vaccinated, which is entirely possible. Whether or not it's the prudent thing to do, whether or not it'll happen, we've already seen a number of teams have guys enter the health and safety protocol over the last week. Tobias Harris with the Philadelphia 76ers, the Cleveland Cavaliers have had a bunch of guys with it, Larry Markkinen and Kevin Love are the two most well-known ones. So, the fact that you have some guys still entering the protocol, and even if you go over to the NFL, and Aaron Rodgers testing positive, it's not like the virus is gone. The leagues are still grappling with this. So, it'll be interesting to see if they're willing to step back off that mandate. If they do, maybe mid-January or, late January, early February after they ramp them up, if that is the case. But, as it stands now, I have a hard time believing with guys still entering the protocol that a big city like New York would move off of that.
Well, I guess we'll just have to see what develops. Greg, we're going to take a little 2-minute break or so hang on hold there, and we'll be right back with Greg Grenier talking about the NBA and Marist College basketball.
Okay, and thank you, Rick Remsnyder, and a very, very special thanks to Greg Grenier for calling in today, and we'll be right back with Greg in a few minutes. This is WGHQ, AM 920 and 92.5 FM. Still about 27 degrees here in uptown Kingston on this November 5th, and thank you for being with us this morning. This last portion of Kingston Community Radio has been brought to you by Baum Real Estate, Robert Baum Real Estate, and That's Commercial Realty, located at 79 St. James Street, Kingston, New York. Visit rgbaum.com for more information. We'll be right back after these quick messages.
This fall, give us your best shot. Your photo of the Hudson Valley's autumn scenery could be worth $750. Enter Central Hudson's 9th annual Fall Foliage Contest today. If your photo gets the most likes on our Facebook page, you win. Deadline to enter is November 5th. For contest rules and information on how to submit your photo, go to Central Hudson's Facebook page or visit centralhudson.com.
Introducing the YMCA. Sure, you know the Y for a swim or a game of hoops, but we're more than that. We're a cause. When you take a jump shot at the Y, someone else is getting job training. Practice yoga as a team practices her leadership skills. We give people of all ages, incomes, and backgrounds a chance to learn, grow, and thrive. So while you might think of the Y as the place for lifting weights, we're also about lifting entire communities. That's the Y. We're so much more. Visit ymca.net/more.
Hi, this is Cameron Rylance from Kingston, and I support Kingston Community Radio because it's informative.
And this last segment of Kingston Community Radio has been brought to you by Robert Baum Commercial Realty, located 79 St. James Street here in Kingston, New York. Visit rgbaum.com for more information. This upcoming portion of Kingston Community Radio is brought to you by Ulster Savings Bank. Many locations throughout the Mid-Hudson Valley, one near you. A little bit about the weekend weather. Mostly sunny today with a high of 51. Mainly clear skies tonight with a low down to 28. Saturday, mainly sunny with a high of 52. Wow, warming trend. And it's going to be sunny all day Saturday. And mostly clear skies Saturday night with a low down to 28 again. And Sunday, partly cloudy skies in the morning, giving way to cloudy skies during the afternoon with a high of 53. And a low on Sunday night of 34 degrees. And let's get back to Rick Remsnyder and Greg for this next segment of Kingston Community Radio, Fabulous Friday.
All right, thank you, Dan. By the way, anybody like to call in? I'd love to hear your input about the NBA, Marist, anything else that's on your mind. 331-9255. We're on Kingston Community Radio with Greg Rinya. Greg, so clear something up for me. The Kyrie is getting paid half his salary because he could play on road games, but the Nets told him to stay home, which I think is the right move. So he is getting half his salary.
Exactly. So, I mean, if he were to play a full season and be vaccinated, he would make about $34 million. The fact that he's not allowed to play in home games because of the mandate in New York City, that makes him ineligible to be paid for those games. But, I mean, if the Nets wanted, they could just have Kyrie playing road games. So, I mean, when they go to Detroit tonight, they theoretically are within their right to bring Kyrie along with them and have him play. But since that's their decision, not his decision, to not play in those road games, they're on the hook for the road games. So basically he's getting half his salary, half the games that the Nets told him to stay home and not be part of the team.
All right, so I'm going to make a little prediction here. You're the NBA expert, but I'm gonna go the other way. I say that Kyrie at some point, maybe just before Christmas, he needs a little money to get a few Christmas presents. He said, I'm leaving $17 million on the table. I'm very principled, but I think I've made my point. So I think before the January 1, we're going to see Mr. Irving make a statement, and he'll be back in uniform. I can't see any athlete leaving $17 million on the table, but that's just my prediction. So we'll see what happens. Barring that happening, are the Nets good enough to win without him? If KD, Kevin Durant, and James Harden stay healthy, can they win the title even without Kyrie Irving?
Well, I think the key phrase that you said there was if they stay healthy. So, I mean, I think if Kevin Durant is completely healthy and Harden works his way into shape, I mean, they're as good as anybody. So, I mean, they're definitely, in the top 2 or 3 teams. So, I mean, they'd probably still be the betting favorite. I think the question that people would have is, will Kevin Durant be able to carry this team the entire way? Because so far through 8 games, 5-3 start. I mean, he's playing arguably the best basketball of his career, and it's been a storied career so far. So I mean, he's been great. Harden has struggled out of the gate, and so I think last week you saw it a little bit with Durant getting ejected versus Detroit, and then throwing the ball into the stands, which should have gotten him ejected against Indiana. There's a little bit of frustration because I think he probably looks at it and says, I'm supposed to have Kyrie here with me. I don't have that. I'm supposed to have James Harden, a perennial MVP candidate, and he's looked nothing like that up to this point. He's looked more like Darren Williams than James Harden to date, and maybe the rule changes have had something to do with that. But he was quoted, or those around him were quoted. The reason why he didn't go to the Knicks was that he wasn't interested in saving their franchise. Well, right now he's being asked to put the entire Nets franchise on his back, and he doesn't have necessarily the health that he thought he was going to have. But all that said, if he's healthy, he's arguably the best player in the league, if not in the top 2, with Giannis Antetokounmpo. So, I mean, I think that any team that Kevin Durant is on is a threat to win it all. If he's healthy and if Harden's healthy, there's certainly a chance that they go to the finals. But that'll be interesting to see, but they do have an older roster, and most of the guys have been in the league more than a decade. I mean, I think aside from the rookies who really aren't expected to play much of a role, Joe Harris and DeAndre Bembry are the only guys who are really, in their prime years in terms of, in their mid-20s. Every other guy has been in the league over 10 years. We look at Patty Mills, LaMarcus Aldridge, Paul Millsap. I mean, it is an older roster from that standpoint. James Johnson, and then you take into account Durant being around a while, although still in his prime. Harden being in the league a while, a lot of miles on him. So, I mean, if they can stay healthy, I mean, they would certainly be my pick. But we'll see we'll see how they fare in the grind of an 82-game season and playoffs.
Who do you like among the new complimentary players that Sean Marks picked up in the offseason for the Nets?
Oh, I think far and away it's been Patty Mills, a guard who spent the majority of his career with San Antonio before coming to Brooklyn. I mean, there's that familiarity with Sean Marks, who was with the Spurs before coming to the Nets. I mean, he opened the season, I want to say, in the first 2 or 3 games, shooting about 70% from 3. I think he hit his first maybe 10 threes on the season. So, I mean, he's a battle-tested player. He played for Australia in the Olympics and was arguably one of the best players in the Olympics last summer. Except for Kevin Durant, you could probably look at Patty Mills and say he was probably the second or third best player in the world. So I mean, he's battle tested. He's been in big games with the Spurs. He's been in big games with Australia. He can shoot the lights out of the ball. Knows how to play the right way. I thought that was probably their biggest pickup, and he's probably going to serve as their sixth man off the bench this year. So I thought that was going to be a coup for whichever team signed him. Of all the big players, and I think the fact that the Nets were able to add that shooting to go along with Joe Harris's shooting just further adds a lot of outside skill from the perimeter for Durant and for Harden. And I mean, Harden, even with his struggles getting to the line and shooting, has still been racking up assists. And I think when you have guys like Harris and now Patty Mills, that gives them an outlet to drive and kick. And if they have an open shot, they're more than likely to make it.
Aldridge has looked pretty good coming back after last year, his short retirement due to heart problems. So I think he's a big pickup in the middle there. I like that mid-range jumper that that's almost automatic when that 15, 16-footer he has.
Sure, yeah, you could label him the king of the mid-range. It seems like, he and Durant both have that 18-footer down pat. So, I mean, he's been great, too. I mean, with him, I guess that my concern would be not even so much the heart problems, since he's been cleared from that, just will he withstand an 82-game season? And then will he, when asked, be able to go up against a guy like Embiid, a guy like Jokic, let's say, if we're talking about the finals? Because it seems like the Nets pretty much doubled down on their small ball philosophy. I wouldn't really label him like a big burly center. He's more of a guy who wants to play outside. So, I mean, if he's asked to guard Giannis or if he's asked to guard Embiid, the guys they'd probably have to go through, to get to the finals, to where they could face a guy like a Gobert or Nikola Jokic. How will that matchup play out? But I mean, his offense has been nothing short of excellent. He's hit most of his mid-range shots. He shoots over 50% seemingly every game. So I mean, he's also been a big pickup. You're totally right about that.
You mentioned Joel Embiid and the Sixers. What a mess that is. What do you think is going to happen ultimately with the Ben Simmons fiasco? Is he ever going to play, or they've obviously couldn't get rid of him? They couldn't trade him in the offseason. They're probably asking for way too much. What do you see the end game there? And will the Sixers finally get straightened out? When we start getting into the meat of the schedule?
Yeah, ironically, the Sixers have started off really well. They're 7-2. The concern that I would have for them is that it seems like Joel Embiid is dealing with knee soreness and is banged up a little bit. And you figure 9 games into an 82-game season, after having a full off season, for him to already be facing injury questions, that's probably not a great sign. So despite them having played well, the fact that they don't have an all-star caliber player on the floor, or at the very least to be able to trade him for something that could turn into a few more pieces that could further assist Embiid and Tobias Harris and Seth Curry, it's problematic. And I mean, at this point, I think Ben Simmons is only there so that he collects his money. So, I mean, he's not as charitable as Kyrie Irving, willing to walk away from $17 million. Ben Simmons wants his money, and I think that he realized that by showing up and saying that he has a back injury and that he's not mentally ready to play. All those things are basically, I think, in an effort for him to still get paid without actually having to take the floor for the 76ers. So, I mean, as you said, it is a mess. The problem for Ben Simmons is that I don't see how he gets traded. So, I mean, if his wish is to be traded, he's not doing anything to make other teams want to trade for him. I mean, it's the same thing in Kyrie's case, where how can you trade for a guy who you don't know what you're getting when he shows up, if he shows up? So, I mean, in Ben Simmons' case, how do you expect Philadelphia to flip him for, let's use Portland as an example. How are they going to trade him for C.J. McCollum when Portland will say, well, we haven't seen Ben Simmons play in a while, and the last time we saw him play, he didn't look that good. So, I mean, he has to take some ownership, too, for the reason why Philadelphia was unhappy with him in the first place. I mean, he's been in the league 5-6 years, and he hasn't gotten any better in that time. I mean, he hasn't worked on his game. I mean, if you look at Giannis Antetokounmpo, I mean, he couldn't shoot a lick when he came into the league. And now no one is going to confuse him with Kevin Durant shooting the ball, but he can still go out and make a shot from time to time. And so he's clearly worked on that. I mean, you saw in the finals, in the clinching game, he went, I believe it was 16 for 19 from the free throw line. So, I mean, he put in the work to become a better player. Ben Simmons still has the same faults that he did when he entered the league. So, I mean, he's a wonderful defensive player. He's a good ball handler. But there seems to be that mental block of he doesn't want to miss shots, so he's not willing to take them. And I think that's what annoyed Philadelphia. Now, he doesn't want to play for Philadelphia because they were annoyed with his faults and not gushing over what he does offer. But what he does offer limited them in the playoffs last year against Atlanta. He was practically unplayable late in some of those games because of his poor free throw shooting in the 30% range. It's tough to have your point guard on the floor at that point late in the game in that situation. But I really don't know how it ends because I mean, I'm sure they're still working hard to trade him. Daryl Morey has placed a firm line in the sand and said, I'm not going to move him unless it's for a deal that makes sense. They don't want to give him up for 30 cents on the dollar. I mean, he still is a guy who has made, several all-star teams. He's a perennial defensive player of the year candidate. So, I mean, he still does offer something. But with him not playing, why would another GM give up assets to attain a guy who, their last vision of him was coming up quite small in the Eastern Conference Finals against Atlanta. So, I mean, it is a mess. I think Philadelphia would be much better served, not only with his presence, just because he adds another body there, but also if they could trade him and turn him into a couple of rotation players and some draft picks, that would take some of the burden off the guys that are there. But I guess we'll have to wait and see. But hopefully for their sake, they figure it out soon, because I don't know that the fast start that they've gotten out to is sustainable, as you said, once they get into the meat of the season.
Well, this is Rick Remsnyder in Kingston Community Radio. Feel free to call in 331-9255. I'm here with Greg Herinian, NBA expert. Let's skip to the finals, Greg. Let's assume that the Nets and the Lakers, although they're probably the two oldest teams in the league, they make it to the finals. Let's say KD, Harden, and my pick, Kyrie, coming back. How do they stack up against LeBron, Anthony Davis, Russell Westbrook, and our old friend Carmelo? What do you see if that happens to be the NBA final, which would be a pretty high-profile final, obviously?
Personally, I would pick the Nets to get to the finals in that scenario. I'd be pretty surprised if even Milwaukee at full strength would definitely make for a good series with the Nets. Miami, Philadelphia, I mean, those are the only other teams that could probably serve as a speed bump for the Nets. But I mean, if Kyrie comes back and they stay healthy, I mean, they're far and away the most talent. To be honest with you, I think this might not be the right answer to your question, but I think I'd more likely see the Golden State Warriors or the Denver Nuggets in the finals than the Lakers. I think the Lakers have some issues that I don't necessarily know that Russell Westbrook solved. It's hard having a point guard who isn't necessarily a great shooter, and I mean, LeBron needs to dominate the ball, and Westbrook needs to dominate the ball. So I don't necessarily know that that's a great fit. Obviously, they're very old, and to be fair, they have had some injuries. Taylor Horton Tucker is one of the young guys on their roster who was going to be a part of their rotation, who hasn't been there. He's had a hand injury. So, I mean, it's hard to make proclamations 8 or 9 games into the season. The fact that they've lost 2 games already to the Oklahoma City Thunder, who are probably the worst team in the league, and they've blown 19-plus leads in both of those games, to lose those games doesn't inspire much confidence. I mean, I know the Nets last year lost to the Cleveland Cavaliers twice. I think you were at one of those games. Yeah. So, I mean, it's it's hard to read a lot into the regular season, but I look at a team like Golden State and I say, okay, you've got Steph Curry, you've got Klay Thompson coming back maybe in early December. So, I mean, we might only be a month away from seeing Klay Thompson come back. Jordan Poole's emerged as another backcourt scoring option. He had 31 the other night. Wiggins, if not asked to be one of your top players, if he's your 4th option, is still pretty good. You've got Draymond Green. You're going to get James Wiseman back from injury. Jonathan Kuminga is probably going to make an appearance at some point soon. He was banged up in the offseason, so they're bringing him along slowly. There's a lot of talent and a lot of young talent on that Warriors roster, and there's a lot of shooting. I think the thing that concerns me with the Lakers is that they don't necessarily have a lot of shooting. I mean, no one is ever going to confuse LeBron for Larry Bird shooting the ball, and Westbrook's not a great shooter, and Anthony Davis is always injured. But I mean, look, they are still talented. They'll still be in the final 3 or 4 teams out west. I mean, you're probably looking at Utah, Golden State, Denver, and the Lakers as probably your top teams out west. So, I mean, they're certainly going to be there. It would be a high-profile matchup. I think everyone would love to see LeBron and KD go at it in the finals. I'd have more faith in KD getting to the finals at this point, just because I think age is starting to take its toll on LeBron, and given the nature of Anthony Davis's injury history, I think that there's more to overcome in getting them to the finals healthy than maybe the Nets getting there healthy.
Well, it'd be interesting to see. So, for those of you that like somewhat of a long shot bet, you can go with the Nuggets. I mean, they do have the reigning MVP, but we'll see. We got about 5 minutes, Greg. Let's go across the river from Kingston, where our studio is, and go over to Marist College. After 13 straight losing seasons, the Red Foxes, which it's kind of ironic, and you know how much I think of Marist head coach John Dunn. I think he does a fantastic job. But the first winning season since 2008 last year, John and his team went 12-9. Nobody saw it because there was nobody unless you're watching ESPN3. There was no fans in the stands. Fortunately, this year there will be. So they had a turnaround season, 12-9. I know, being a Marist alum, you must have finally taken some satisfaction that the Red Foxes finally got one on the right side of the ledger.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I was one of those people. I don't know how many or how few were watching, but I was watching on ESPN3 and ESPN Plus. So I saw most of their season last year, and it was enjoyable. I mean, again, I'm going back to a time where, 10 years ago they were losing 25 to 30 games in a season. I think they had 1 year where they won one game under Chuck Martin, if I recall correctly. So,
recall correctly.
Yeah. So I mean, it's definitely a great turnaround. I mean, I remember both covering Marist and then coming back after I graduated and watching them play St. Peter's once or twice, and I was always impressed by the job that John Dunn did. And so when they hired him, I thought that was a real great get for Marist, just because he always seemed to get a lot out of a roster. You would think that Marist would be able to attract players better than St. Peter's, and every time they played, St. Peter's was always giving them the business, as it were. So, I mean, I thought that was a good hire because they found someone who knew the MAC and who had proven success in the MAC. It wasn't a gamble on an outside hire where it's a shot in the dark. I mean, they were getting a proven coach, and and as you know, I mean, I'm a big proponent of defense, both in the college game and the pro game. I feel like you can't win without it. So I mean, bringing in a coach who's really intense on that end of the floor, I think gives them a shot. And it looks like they have a lot of athletes coming back this year, some returning players, and if I'm not mistaken, they were picked third in the conference. So I mean, I think that there's a little bit of hype around the team. So if there are people out there who maybe lost track of Marist throughout the years as they were struggling, now might be time to jump back on the bandwagon.
Well, yeah, it's and as you know, I covered Marist for a number of years, and one of the more enjoyable nights I have is when you and I and Dan Reinhardt from the other station here in Kingston.
Yeah.
He was on here the other day, wasn't Dan?
Yes, he was. He was here Tuesday.
Yeah, so we love going to sit in the press row and watching the Red Foxes. It's an enjoyable night. It's a very, it's a great atmosphere, particularly when they're winning, which hasn't been too much lately. But the price is right, and there's nothing like, for me, Division I college basketball, and the MAC is a great conference, right, Greg?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to coming back again. As long as they're allowing people into the McCann Center, I'll be back there this year. I mean, it's as you said, it's there's nothing like seeing Division I basketball up close and personal, and it is some good basketball. I mean, you're going to see them play some good teams. I mean, as we've talked before, Iona, is going to be formidable this year. But, Marist is going to be up there in the top 3 or 4 teams, and so it'll be the atmosphere should return, not only because people weren't allowed to be there last year, but because the team should be pretty good.
Yeah, Iona with Rick Pitino is going to be pretty tough to beat, but you never know in college basketball. One injury, and who knows. But so I'm looking forward to you and I finally getting to second guess John Dunn's every time out.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that too.
But John is a tremendous coach, so we're 100% behind him. Well, Greg, it's been really nice having you on again. I appreciate it, and we're going to have you back again. And we'll see how your prediction goes with the Nets in the final against either Golden State or the Nuggets, and a lot of basketball between now and then. So I'm sure you'll be watching, and I appreciate you coming on.
I sure will be watching, and I appreciate you having me on, Rick. Thanks so much.
All right, take care, Greg. So we're going to take a break now, and we're coming back with Harry Lipstein of Denizen Theater. We're really looking forward to talking to Harry, and so take it away, Dan.
Okay, and thank you, Rick Remsnyder, and a very, very special thanks to Greg Herenya for coming in and updating us on everything Mid-Hudson Valley sports. This last portion of Kingston Community Radio has been brought to you by Ulster Savings Bank. Many locations throughout the Mid-Hudson Valley, one near you. 27 degrees still. Can't get above that 27 degrees. And we'll be right back after these messages.
This fall, give us your best shot. Your photo of the Hudson Valley's autumn scenery could be worth $750. Enter Central Hudson's 9th annual Fall Foliage Contest today. If your photo gets the most likes on our Facebook page, you win. Deadline to enter is November 5th. For contest rules and information on how to submit your photo, go to Central Hudson's Facebook page or visit centralhudson.com.
Hey everyone, let's all stop what we're doing and take a moment. You see? Every moment can be kind of special. But they can be loud moments, goofy moments, dorky moments, it doesn't matter. Because every time dads like us take a moment like that to spend with our kids, well, it's pretty momentous. So let's take a moment to make a moment. Call 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Hi, this is Tony Marmo from Norman Staffing, and we've been bringing together employers and job seekers since 1980. If you're an employer and have job vacancies, let Norman Staffing help fill them with permanent or temporary workers. We screen, interview, and recommend the best candidates for your company. We make the employment process easier and faster for you. Please call Norman Staffing for your employment needs at 338-9111, 338-9111, or normanstaffing.com.
Hi, this is Shirley Stabe from Kingston, and I support Kingston Community Radio, and so should you.
You're listening to WGHQ AM 920 and 92.5 FM, the home of Kingston Community Radio. My name is Dan Gaddis, and it is still 27 degrees here on this November 5th. And it's going to be sunny to partly cloudy today with a high going up to 51 today. And clear to partly cloudy tonight with a low of 28. Mainly sunny, high of 52 on Saturday. Mainly sunny. It's going to be a nice day. Generally fair on Saturday night with a low of 29. And for the rest of the weekend on Sunday, we have a partly to mostly cloudy day. But, you know, we got some sun peeking through, too, with a high of 53. Partly cloudy skies on Sunday night with a low of 34. This upcoming portion of Kingston Community Radio is brought to you by Sawyer Motors. Bob Circasano and the whole Sawyer Motors team on 166 Ulster Avenue in Saugerties, New York, 12477. Definitely visit them, see what they have on their inventory. But you can call them, too, at 845-247-5027. Now let's get back to the on-air studio with Rick Remsnyder and our new guest.
Thank you, Dan, and I have a feeling, when are we going to get up to that 51 degrees? It's a little slow getting up there, but anyway.
I know, it's still very cold out, you know, it's still just peaking up to about 30.
Tremendous. Well, I'm very pleased to have on the air somebody I haven't talked to since I retired over a year ago as a tourism director. His name is Harry Lipstein. He's the founder and producing artistic director of the Denizen Theater in New Paltz, and I'm thrilled to have him on. How are you this morning, Harry?
Richard, I am thrilled to be able to talk about the Denizen Theater. As you know, I'm very passionate about it.
I know you are, and I'm going to ask you to get a little background in the theater, but I have to say that when I first heard about the Denizen, I was living in New Paltz, and the concept of the Black Box Theater, it's for those who have not been there maybe, it's in the Water Street Market in New Paltz, and I was really excited of the concept, but I got even more excited when I met you, because when it comes to enthusiasm, I think you're one of the most enthusiastic people I've ever met. So you're certainly a great promoter of that theater. So how things been going?
Spectacular, and some of the reason, if I can share with your audience, for that passion. What we're doing is nothing different that wasn't done throughout time, which is the art of storytelling. It's in our DNA. It's in our sinew. We used to sit around the fireplace, listen to stories. A visitor would come from afar. We'd ask them, where have you been? What have you seen? And then around that fire, we would hear stories, use our imagination. That art form, that storytelling is in all of us, so that when you go to Broadway, when you go to off-Broadway or off-Broadway, that's what that storytelling will help us reacquaint ourselves with. And the most important thing about live storytelling in theater for your audience, it is the only art form that has been proven. We have the technology now through brain scans to raise empathy in the world. I call it the great fake out. We all go to theater to get entertained. We want to listen to a story. What we don't realize as we're seeing a story unfold in real time, this isn't a recording, it's not music. We're watching stories unfold. You may have lost a loved one. You may have just got in an argument with your boss. We watch that and we think we're entertained, when in fact it's connecting with our empathy center of our brain. We walk out of a theater performance a more empathetic human being, and that's why I'm so passionate about it. Currently, you asked me how the theater's doing. We just opened up after 18 months of not having a live show in a professional theater venue to a powerhouse show that's still running, by the way. It's going to run through November 21st at the Denizen Theater in New Paltz at Water Street Market. It runs Thursday through Saturday, 7 p.m., Sunday matinee at 2. So tonight we have a show at 7 p.m. It is a powerful show written by an Albany playwright, a talented Albany playwright, Jennifer Fawcett, who wrote a one-woman play. And if I tell your audience the construct, it's amazing. This talented actress from Kingston, a professional actress from Kingston, will prepare an apple pie during the course of the show at the request of her son. It just so happens, and I'm not giving anything away, the son is in prison, and this is his last meal request on death row. So this mother who's preparing her son's last meal, an apple pie at his request, will tell you the story behind how she is there. It is powerful. It is funny, believe it or not, and it also makes me cry. It's some performance, and I'm so proud. The audiences, we have not had a show since we opened. We opened 2 weeks ago, where the audience has not stood up after the show for a spontaneous standing ovation. I'm so proud of this production.
Is this Apples in Winter?
Yes, it is. Apples in Winter. You'd think I would at least mention the name. Yes.
That's okay.
So appropriate. Apples in Winter, as we approach here in the Hudson Valley, almost freezing temperatures. Apples in Winter are, in fact, is the name of the play, but it also is so appropriate for the time we are in right now. We've partnered with a few of the local apple orchards. They're supplying the apples every night. This woman is making a fresh apple pie. They're supplying the apples for our production. It is a community event. It's something that anywhere, I would say, go see it. The fact that we have a professional theater in the Hudson Valley, there hadn't been a new professional theater built in the Hudson Valley in over 20 years. This is a extraordinary experience, particularly, and I say this during post-COVID. We are in a world where we're being isolated, alienated for all the reasons that are appropriate, but for humans to not be able to connect as humans is an actual been studied will ultimately create havoc, loneliness. So to be able to gather with your community safely in our theater, we generally seat between 60 and 80 seats. We've reduced our capacity. Everybody in the theater wears a mask. It is such a beautiful communal event in our community to see live professional theater. And as you know, Richard, we have had an exodus from New York. These are people that are used to seeing theater. These are people that literally are longing for that connection, and we're providing that at a very, very critical time.
Well, you certainly do that, Harry. By the way, this is Harry Lipstein of the Denizen Theater. By the way, please go on their website. Denizen is spelled Denizen, and theater is the theater with TRE at the end. So you can go on to denizentheater.com website, get all the information about the current production and Apples in Winter. And I've gone to 3 or 4 of your shows pre-pandemic. And the thing that there's a number of things I like about what you do. First of all, it's you mentioned 60, 70 seat theater. It's very intimate. You kind of move it around. You have different props where you can sit different ways. I've seen different productions there. And I love the fact that you use a lot of local talent. And you mentioned your actor from Kingston. What is her name?
Jennifer is, it's interesting. She was crowned, our actress is named Jennifer, our playwright is Jennifer Fawcett. Jennifer from Kingston, professional actress, it was named Miss Ulster County and had a little controversy around her name, which was way back in the day. When she was named Miss Ulster County, she's now a mature woman. She also had it was involved with a film where she went topless. They tried to strip her of her Ulster County, Miss Ulster County crown. It actually became national news back in its day. She was recrowned Miss Ulster County because she stood up for her rights. Powerful performer. I can't say enough things about it. Richard, you mentioned something which I want to share with your audience. It is Denizen Theater. Denizen, the name was not come up or brought up just flippantly. Denizen is an inhabitant of a community. We talk about sitting around the fireplace telling stories. Denizen, the literal definition, is an inhabitant of the community. If you go up to the building, which is an extraordinary concrete structure at Water Street Market, at the side of the building, we've deconstructed that word. Den means home and security. It's right by our stage door. Zen, spiritual, uplifting. It's just above a beautiful garden with daisies. In the middle is a bench there. Den, Zen. And it's connected by I. Den is home and security. Zen, spiritual, uplifting, connected by I. And as we sit there, we realize denizentheater.com is doing live theater. And as you mentioned, Richard, there's something extraordinarily powerful when an audience member sits 6, 8, 10 feet away from actors as they go through this fictitious world as spun by the playwright. You could be in your kitchen, in your family room, entertaining an uncle, a loved one. That's what you're watching. When we go see these big extravaganzas on Broadway, it is extraordinary. It is a sensation. That is a different product. Anybody that has not experienced black box theater, which means the purest form of theater, needs to come to Water Street Market, needs to come to the Denizen Theater. Why? Because it's an experience that is so different than what we think of. People that say, "Oh yeah, I've been to theater. It's not for me." You come and hear these stories in real time. The one that I mentioned, Apples in Winter, about a mother making an apple pie. You'll watch her making an apple pie for her son as she tells her story. You're there with her. You're in a prison kitchen as visualized by the scenic designer, as supported by professional lighting, sound, props, costumes. Everybody at the Denizen Theater is paid. It's all professional. And as you mentioned, Richard, there's plenty of talent in them there hills, and the Hudson Valley is steeped with artists. We know the tradition of artists in the Hudson Valley. Well, we are 90 miles from the biggest theater capital in the world, New York City, Manhattan. And guess where most of, if not an overwhelming majority, live? Right here in the Hudson Valley.
No question about it. This is Rick Remsnyder, and if you would like to call in and talk to Harry Lipstein from the Denizen Theater, 845-331-9255. Harry, I saw a production there, and I don't mean to embarrass you, but you are very modest. You're a fantastic actor in your own right. What play was that? And
so thank you so much. I'm glad you experienced that. That was a play called Companion Piece, written by a New York City playwright. There we go. Companion Piece, I had the privilege of participating in. It was a 3-character play. The reason I was gravitated to that role was that role was a universal concept. It was about, in each individual way, each of the 3 characters were experiencing profound loneliness. And what an appropriate subject matter for our current time. I got attracted to that role. I played a role named Leonard. He was a computer misanthrope, into himself, not really able to fully experience human beings in real time. So I got attracted to the role, and it was done in such a beautiful way, written in such a beautiful way, and we brought that talented New York playwright to the Denizen Theater. I'm glad you saw that production. This production that we currently have, Apples in Winter, I'm proud to say people are walking out. Richard, you have only 2 weeks left. Literally are saying, "Oh my gosh, this is the best thing I've seen at the Denizen." I think I'd be number 2.
Well, it's a great night out, and I'm glad that you're back after an 18-month hiatus, because there's as I said before, it's very professional productions that you put on. It's affordable. I've been to Broadway. There's nothing like going to a Broadway show, but the cost and some of the things that you have to go through to get down to see a production, this is so much easier, and it's certainly worthwhile, and I encourage people to go. I know you have a great relationship with SUNY New Paltz. Talk about that a little bit, and how you've, I'm assuming you must, before the pandemic, you must have had students contribute to your productions, or at least you certainly encourage them.
Very, 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 very appropriate. Thank you for bringing that up. It is so we're located in the village in New Paltz. For people that don't know the village in New Paltz, it is one of the most unique communities along with our other Hudson River towns. But New Paltz is unique in so many ways. It's adjacent to 50,000 acres of open space preserve, Mohonk Preserve. Have a village that has a river to ridge trail that you just cross the bridge. So you have a village of 8,000 residents that have access to 50,000 acres of nature. It's just amazing. The river to ridge trail opened just a couple of years ago, and it is by far the most important umbilical cord to the village. But as you mentioned, and we also are home to SUNY New Paltz, close to 8,000 students with all the commensurate professors and support people that support an 8,000 student SUNY, and they can walk down the hill to a village and see professional theater in their own village for every show, every student, anytime, $5. We're a 501c3, not-for-profit. We're committed to the next generation of theater goers. I'm so proud to say that we've had thousands of students see professional theater in their own village. High school students, SUNY New Paltz college students, for $5. SUNY New Paltz has an extraordinary, most people are not aware of this, theater program where the professionals of Broadway, lighting designers, stage managers, sound designers, are coming from SUNY New Paltz and working in New York City. We have that powerhouse SUNY New Paltz in our village, and as a not-for-profit, we're committed, any student, anytime, $5 student tickets. It's a recipe for disaster as a non-for-profit. However, we get support by beautiful institutions like Ulster Savings Bank, Sawyer Savings Bank, Bank of Greene County, Orange Bank and Trust. They say, you know something, we support the Hudson Valley, we support the arts, and they stand by us and support our $5 student program. Otherwise, we could not do it. In addition, we have currently, every production we try to bring in SUNY New Paltz students. We have a marketing major who's doing an internship, getting credit, plus we pay her as a marketing intern to work at the Denizen Theater. She's been working on, and I encourage people to go on our website, denizentheater.com. Denizen Theater, spelled RE.com. Look at our website. A student who is an intern from SUNY New Paltz, Emma, has worked on our website, has put input on how to promote a play in the Hudson Valley, and is being paid as a professional. First paid professional job as a professional theater person right in our own village. And Richard, I want to point out, most people don't realize, but when you put on a show, when you put on a play, we're an incubator for employment. We hire and pay everybody. And I'm going to go partially through the list because most people are not aware. To put on a production, you have props, costume designer, sound designer, lighting designer, stage manager, assistant stage manager, front of office, box office. You have a director, you have actors, and I've given you a partial list. There's a scenic designer, there's a set designer, there's a technical designer. This one-woman show you're going to see is backed up by dozens of professionals that were paid in the Hudson Valley by a not-for-profit. I can't be more proud of what we do there. It's located right at Water Street Market, which I have to point out for your audience, if you've not been there, you could go to Water Street Market, have a meal at Parish, overlook the Shawannagunks, walk across the parking lot and see a show at 7 p.m. You can walk up Main Street and eat at any of the dozens of restaurants, see a show, walk to a theater, and drive home all in one evening. It is a spectacular composition. You've been there, Richard. You could speak to it.
You're preaching to the choir. I love your enthusiasm. In another life, you could have been Ulster County's tourism director because you're saying the same things that I used to say. But I got to say, Harry, you got the middle of September. There was a tremendous article in the New York Post It was you can Google it. Certainly, it's
Yes.
It says, I bought a bunker in New Paltz and discovered New York's best small town by Margie Conklin. And there's a lot of great article about New Paltz, some fantastic pictures of the Denizen and the Cronin Gallery and Water Street Market. Love Melanie and Ryan Cronin. Melanie was on our tourism advisory board to do a tremendous job. So that was a nice shout out from the New York Post.
Absolutely. And the New York Post is doing nothing other than acknowledging what I am sharing with your audience, which we already know here in the Hudson Valley. What a unique place to live. New Paltz has been described, and I thought it was a bit of hubris when I first heard it. This is going over 25 years ago. They said New Paltz is like a mini Boulder, Colorado. But interestingly enough, having visited Boulder, I'm going to say New Paltz is actually much better in its composition. There's very, very, very few villages that have the privilege of a SUNY university of close to 8,000 students literally in their village, as you're able to avail yourself to nature unfettered, over 50,000 acres, walking distance. It's almost unheard of in any composition. Kingston has its own unique characteristics. Beacon has its characteristics. Poughkeepsie. But what New Paltz has going for it is one of the most unique compositions. One of my other lives was architecture. What we studied is called something which is neo-traditionalism, new urbanism. And these villages throughout the United States, they tried to replicate what New Paltz is, which is an ability to live in a village with culture, with restaurants, with socializing, with the ability to walk on the streets and see your neighbor and have access to 50,000 acres on foot. It's uncalled. It's such a unique community. If you've never been to New Paltz, come. Water Street Market is right on Main Street. The Denizen Theater sits within Water Street Market, which Richard knows is made up of independent shops. There's no Starbucks in our complex. You're not going to find any big box store. These are people that have made a living in New Paltz for the last 20 years. We have a Himalayan shop. We have the Cronin Gallery. We have one of the smallest wine bars, Jarred, in the Hudson Valley. It is a wine bar where 6-8 people would sit at the bar. It feels like Cheers. Parish Restaurant. There's a coffee shop by a husband and wife team that have been there for 20 years. They raise their children at Water Street Market. Michelle and James. You can go there and James will cook you up some of the best meals and get a great cup of coffee. Water Street Market and Denizen. I can't say enough about New Paltz, but more importantly, go see a show. There's only 2 weeks. We only have, tonight's show included, 8 shows left. Every night, the audience gets up to a standing ovation, and literally, I can't be more proud of this show. Richard, you saw Companion Piece. Kevin Armato was the playwright. Thank you. The brain still works. And that play was extraordinary. This will bring you to your feet in our village for professional theater, and it's such a timely piece. It's such a beautiful piece. It will make you laugh, and it also makes me cry.
How do we join the Zen Den?
Good question. Thank you. Who asked that?
I'm the announcer, so I'm following your website right now, and I had 2 questions. The Zen Den sounds like a lot of fun, and then also up next, Marlowe, Goethe, Faust, John Peelmeyer.
Thank you so much for asking that. And your voice is extraordinary, by the way. I'm going to make an actor out of you.
I'm there.
So, good deal. No, seriously. Sometimes in life, and it's no different than days of old where a actress would go to California and be discovered, they have a quality. Your voice has a distinct quality. It is awesome to hear. Thank you for asking about the Zen Den. Zen Den is our way of having our audience be able to help us and give back. For $10 a month, a mere $10 a month. We call it $10 a month. I don't minimize that. You can join the Zen Den. Zen Den says, we recognize the work that you're doing. We recognize the fact that a not-for-profit theater needs help. But more importantly, we want to be part of this community. So we find ways to gather as a community apart from the shows. We have gatherings at the theater. You're introduced to playwrights, to directors. You get an inside view. How do you make professional theater? It's magic, and if you just peel behind the curtain, you see it's also fun. Our Zen Den members get access to that type of information. A mere, and I call it a mere, and I'm not minimizing it, $10 a month. Some people give $20 a month. It's something we started up that we're very, very, very proud of, because the community, without the support of the community, without being a true inhabitant, as denizen literally means, then suddenly it's not as much fun. They say in theater, the most important character of any play is the audience. So without the audience, we have no play. To have an actor up there giving her all, to have a playwright giving the words that are extraordinary, means nothing if the audience isn't there. Zen Den allows us to gather as a community. Coming up on Monday, and thank you for pointing that out, we have one of the most talented playwrights. You talk about talent in them there hills, living in the Hudson Valley. John Pielmeyer wrote a iconic play called Agnes of God. It was turned into a movie. We commissioned John Pielmeyer to write a play for the Denizen Theater during the period we were dark because of COVID, so we're still supporting artists in the Hudson Valley. The manifestation of that commission, Monday, we are having that play reading at 7 p.m. at the Denizen. It's an opportunity for free to see a playwright unfold a brand new world premiere and watch the process, to give feedback to the playwright. That's Monday, this Monday, 7 p.m. at the Denizen Theater. You could be part of one of the most exciting play development aspects, a brand new world premiere play right at the Denizen with the playwright, with the actors acting it out. After the play, as an audience member, the playwright wants to hear the audience's comments, will alter his play in accordance with feedback he gets from the audience. It's an extraordinary exchange.
Well, Harry, we really appreciate you coming on. I encourage people to get down there. We got 2 weeks left to see Apples in Winter. If you want to see a real cool event, Monday at 7, go down to Denizen and see that reading. And I'm going to, at the end of the show, I'm going to give Dan Gaddis your email address, so maybe you guys can hook up and we'll see Dan on stage one of these days.
Can I offer, and I hope you get it, we'd like to offer your audience 2 free tickets, first caller that comes in. Richard, if you'd be able to coordinate that, anybody that calls in, 2 free tickets to the Denizen Theater. Come and see a professional show in the Hudson Valley.
Well, we'll do that. Thank you.
Okay, then folks call in after 8:30 and see if you can get your 2 free tickets. Thank you very, very much, Harry.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me on the show. It is so important, but I can't thank you enough.
All right, Harry. We'll see you soon. You take care now.
Take care.
All right, Dan. We got Bob Baum coming up. Take a break here, and we'll be right back with Bob.
Absolutely. Thank you. And you've been with us here at KCR, Kingston Community Radio, AM 920 and 92.5 FM, WGHQ. It's Friday, November 5th, and about 30 degrees right now here in uptown Kingston. This last portion of Kingston Community Radio has been underwritten by Sawyer Motors, Bob Circusano, and the whole Sawyer Motors team. And they are on 166 Ulster Avenue in Saugerties, New York, 12477. Go there and see the amazing inventory that they have. Or call them at 845-247-5027. And we'll be right back after these messages.
This fall, give us your best shot. Your photo of the Hudson Valley's autumn scenery could be worth $750. Enter Central Hudson's 9th annual Fall Foliage Contest today. If your photo gets the most likes on our Facebook page, you win. Deadline to enter is November 5th. For contest rules and information on how to submit your photo, go to Central Hudson's Facebook page or visit centralhudson.com.
Hey everyone, let's all stop what we're doing and take a moment. You see? Every moment can be kind of special. But they can be loud moments, goofy moments, dorky moments, it doesn't matter. Because every time dads like us take a moment like that to spend with our kids, well, it's pretty momentous. So let's take a moment to make a moment. Call 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Hi, this is Tony Marmo from Norman Staffing, and we've been bringing together employers and job seekers since 1980. If you're an employer and have job vacancies, let Norman Staffing help fill them with permanent or temporary workers. We screen, interview, and recommend the best candidates for your company. We make the employment process easier and faster for you. Please call Norman Staffing for your employment needs at 338-9111, 338-9111, or normanstaffing.com.
Hi, this is Scott Harrington from Hurley, and I support Kingston Community Radio because the people need a place to have their voice heard, and it's lost in corporate radio, so please keep listening and supporting our station.
And plenty of sunshine today with a high of 51, mostly clear tonight with a low of 28, and Saturday mainly sunny again with a high of 52. And we've got a few clouds Saturday night, a low of 28, and Sunday, intervals of clouds and sunshine in the morning with more clouds later in the day. And Sunday night, a few clouds from time to time with a low of 34. This upcoming portion of Kingston Community Radio is brought to you by the Friends of Kevin Cahill. As a strong advocate of local broadcasting, Assemblymember Cahill urges you to support Kingston Community Radio with your time and donations. Your contributions keep KCR vital and on the air at FM 92.5, AM 920, and on the web at mykcr.org. Join Assemblymember Cahill and send your gifts of $10, $25, or more to Kingston Community Radio, Post Office Box 4364, Kingston, New York 12402. Together, let's keep KCR alive. And we're keeping KCR alive. We've got Rick Remsnyder and Bob Baum in the on-air studio.
Thank you, Dan. By the way, if anybody wants to see some great theater, Harry Lipstein of the Denizen Theater just graciously offered to donate 2 tickets to the current production in Denizen Theater in New Paltz. So just call 331-9255. Nobody's called in yet, so pick up those tickets. It's definitely a worthwhile trip to the Denizen. So very happy to see my longtime friend, Bob Baum. How's it going today, Robert?
Good morning. We're on the right side of the grass. It's always a wonderful day.
Well, that's true. Bob said, I got some donuts for you. And so I said, well, where's the box? And I didn't see the donuts. But on the cover of the Best of Hudson Valley, there's something that I have never heard of. Dan, maybe you have. Vegan donuts.
Okay.
All righty then.
Right.
Yeah. we had donuts at Boyce Dairy yesterday for the Christmas fundraiser, and they weren't vegan, I can tell you that.
I will take donuts any way they come.
That's absolutely right. Yeah. So what's going on in the world of real estate?
Well, it's heavy duty. There's a lot happening. We've got the housing market is sort of stabilized at this point, and it's up, way up. The commercial market, which is what I deal in, is also exciting. I manage 3 strip malls, 2 in Saugerties and 1 down here in the Rondout. And we're down to 1 vacancy in each of the ones in Saugerties, and we have 2 vacancies left in Rondout. And these are spaces which have I'd say over the last 8 or 10 years, been vacant more than they've been occupied. But now we have a waiting list on things, which is a total different circumstance.
Well, I'm aware of the one on the Strand because our office for tourism used to be down there, so I used to go by it all the time. Where are the two strip malls you're talking about in Saugerties?
Twin Maples across from Quick Check
Okay.
on 9W, and that's actually got 10 storefronts in it and one vacancy.
What's some of the stores in there?
Well, they're businesses as opposed to retail stores. Shaman's Dawn is in there. They do a wholesale operation, and they have a small retail store going to open shortly. They're one of our newest tenants there. And there's a large child care facility, a tax outfit, and there's a church in there.
Oh, okay.
But we have 3 pad sites available out there. They're 3/4 of an acre, an acre and a half, and 2.5 acres. So we're looking for a Walgreens CVS to make a move out on one of the larger pads, and the largest one we're talking to a couple of hotel developers.
Oh, great.
So things are active.
Before I forget, if anybody's interested in inquiring about the property, what's the easiest, what's your contact information?
The best way is to call me directly, 845-242-2100.
Okay. And I know that in all my travels around the county, I see a lot of Bob Baum signs. So you can take a quick picture if you can't remember that number.
Yeah, 242-2100. That's an easy one.
Yeah, should
I've
be.
had it for about 20 years.
Where's the second one?
Second one is Saugerties Plaza, just up
Oh,
the road. And there's only one 4,600 square foot space left there. And so everybody's pretty full. And I have property represent property in Millbrook as well, a 6-acre flower farm, commercial property. So it's a broad spectrum of commercial that I deal in, including, and not the least of which is some pre-approvals on apartment development on Morton Boulevard. We're looking for a developer on that now. And the ever-present 17 acres I've had represented for the last 10 years down on Lucas is finally going to get the last leg in municipal services, and the sewer line's going to be committed now for next year. So we now have municipal water and municipal sewer on site, and we're looking at, my plan is for a 72 townhouse development there.
Oh.
So we're looking for somebody on that too. It's only a $30 million project, but yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess I wouldn't be breaking any news here to say that there certainly is a need for housing in Ulster County.
There's a waiting list in most apartment complexes.
Yeah, well, I know only too well. My son was, he was offered a job in a newspaper here in Ulster County, but, sort of a starting position, but it was impossible for him to make ends meet by, getting an apartment. So long story short, he ended up, fortunately, with another position in a newspaper in Hudson, and he lives in Pittsfield, Mass, because the apartment's a little cheaper there, obviously. So I guess affordable housing is something that, are we going to see it eventually here in Ulster County?
Probably, yeah. There's a big push for that.
Good. Well, it's something that we hate to see people leave the county because they can't find a place to live.
Well, I'll give you a short story. Going back about 25 years ago, I looked at moving to another part of the country and took a long time off and drove around the country and went into Colorado, and I found a couple of communities up there, very attractive college communities. I heard the last caller talking about Boulder and some
Sure.
other areas. Durango, Colorado. was where I went, and I really loved it. And I met with people at the Chamber of Commerce, and we talked about things. And basically, they said, bring your money or bring your work, because there was no affordable housing there for people. And so we have to be careful of that. I think RUPCO is the big driving force for affordable housing down here.
Sure.
So you have a prime mover on that.
Well, that's good. You know, it's and they've had a couple big projects. I'm assuming the one that used to be Ferraro's Bowling, that's got to be full, right? I mean, that was a RUPCO project on Broadway, right?
Yes, it was. Yeah, and I was part of the sale of that at that time.
How many units, by and large?
Boy, I don't know. I'm
Quite a
out
few.
I'm out of the loop on what RUPCO's doing there, but it's a nice looking project.
Yeah, no, it turned out really good. This is Rick Remsire with Bob Baum. Anybody want to call in, talk about real estate, anything else? More than happy to take your call, 845-331-9255. We're still trying to give away those 2 tickets to the Denizen Theater. And so, you know, the properties that you own, you know, they're pretty stable at this point, other than a couple little vacancies that you have. Do you have longtime tenants there, or does it switch up a lot? Or
It doesn't switch often. I want to set the record straight. I don't own those properties.
Okay.
I represent the owners.
Right.
But they are in long-term leases. Generally, we look at 5-year base and 5-year options. And so everyone that I put in is on a 5-year base initial lease with options at the end.
Well, that's good. Well, I'm sorry I misspoke there. I think we have a caller here. Maybe somebody is finally picking up those tickets. But so, Bob, you've been in the community a long time. How did you first get involved in real estate?
First involvement was when I purchased 3 houses for my children for their college education, and I was in my 20s. And doing that, I talked with the realtor, and he said, well, I know you're an engineer with so-and-so company, who I was with at the time. And he said, why don't you get your real estate license? It's a simple procedure back then. That was, 1968? Yeah, 1968. And he said, get your real estate license and see what you can do. And so I worked in it part-time initially for a number of years. And then I got transferred to New York and still worked part-time in real estate until I went full-time in 2005.
Oh, okay. So it's only been full-time for the last 16 years? If
Right.
I could put my thinking cap on this
Yeah.
early in the morning.
That's right.
So how has it improved since then? Are we at an upward trajectory?
Well, we're at I suppose we're in an upward trajectory. I've been through several cycles, up and down cycles, and we do have cycles typically.
Yeah, 2009 couldn't have been an up
Right,
cycle, right?
and right, and they typically happen about every 11 or 12 years.
Mm.
So kind of taking a look at where we are now, where we were in 2009, you know. So I think we're seeing some stable things happening. What we didn't have in the last downturn was low interest rates.
Right.
So the low interest rates stabilize markets.
Okay.
Much more so on the downside. It'll stabilize it without going too far.
All right, we have a caller. Go ahead.
Good morning, gentlemen. How are we doing today?
Good morning.
Good, George. How are you this morning?
I'm doing super. It's a little cool out there. Green Acres probably not going to open up to after 10:30 again this morning like they did yesterday.
Yeah, the frost is still
out there and stuff. But you did a super job yesterday morning at Boise's and everything.
Well, thanks,
And-
George. It was nice to have you stop by and make a nice donation to the Christmas fund. So it was a pretty good setup there, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah, great setup. And you was right. Those donuts were good.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, Bob, I know that property that you're talking about up at Trim Maples, that would be a great site for somebody because it got plenty of parking and stuff. It has traffic flows by on 9W all day long. And because I used to work at that tax outfit that was there. I won't mention their name, but... Yeah, so, hey, that is a great location for anybody who wants it or who wants to move in, because I can remember there used to be a fantastic Chinese restaurant that was there, too, on the end.
That's true, and they're still there.
Oh, they are still
Right.
there? Okay. Because I thought they might have closed. They may have gotten back in again. But, no, that's great property. And like you said, affordable housing in this area is extremely tough to find. And they need to work on that. And also with the businesses opening up, New York State needs to get rid of a lot of the red tape that they have to go through to be able to open a business. And,
Well, I would
you guys
certainly
do a great
agree with
job
that.
doing what you do, so you guys have a great day, and I'll catch you guys later.
Well,
George, we appreciate you calling in. It's going to warm up next week. I know you play till the middle of December, so I'll see you out at the Acres.
Unfortunately, next week I'm booked up with everything going on with veterans groups and everything. All the rates from Tuesday through Friday.
Yes, Veterans Day is November 11th, correct?
Yep, Thursday, yep. And so, hey, if you get a chance, go to some of your local American Legion posts where they'll be doing Veterans Day services, and they all start at 11 a.m. So
Right.
have a great day. Have a terrific weekend.
Thank you, George. Take care now.
Yep, bye.
So, yeah, he's George is an avid golfer at Green Acres, and I see him. I won't be seeing him this morning, though. I'm one of those guys, I don't know about you, Bob, but I need at least 55 degrees before I'm going.
I have to agree with that.
So, yeah, that Chinese restaurant's still there in the strip mall. We don't want to make sure people know about that. So, what else going on with you these days?
Just taking a hard look at the growth in the area and trying to keep a handle on all of the phone calls that come in. We had one earlier this week. One of our co-brokers upstate has a buyer for a portfolio of apartment complexes. And a portfolio they're looking at is between 25 and 30 complexes. So you extrapolate the numbers a little bit, you're looking at a $400 or $500 million investment. So there's a lot of people down here scouting around for apartment complexes which might be available for sale, but very few portfolio operators. They're generally more national in scope. It's just an interesting concept to actually get involved in a project like that.
Well, before I go there, I just want to mention I'm happy that Meredith Van Etten called in, and I'm going to, she's for the 2 free tickets at Denizen Theater for Apples in Winter. I will talk to Harry Lipstein of Denizen, and we'll figure out, I'm sure they'll be available at the box office, and so we'll set you up there, Meredith, and as soon as I hear from Harry, I'll give you a call so make sure you know about that. So thank you for calling in. What, at this point in time, Bob, makes Ulster County attractive for new businesses, in your opinion? What is it that is happening here in the county?
Well, I think the kickstart was the influx of people from south of here, understanding fully what the mountains and the water base we have up here, the clean air, the views. I think that's a big draw. And the fact that we have a close proximity to other places, an hour to Albany, an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes to Lake George, an hour and a half to New York City. We're positioned in between and in a good spot here. So that's what I think the draw is.
Yeah, and it's interesting because in the last, I'll say, half dozen years, working with the media in New York City, it just seems like at least once a month or even more than that, you'll get an article from, like just this morning, I don't know if you're listening or not, there was an article in the New York Post talking about New Paltz and all the great things that are going on in a small town like the Denizen Theater and the galleries and everything there. New York Times, a huge spread not that long ago. So being 90 minutes from Midtown Manhattan, there are a lot of transplanted New Yorkers and business owners obviously relocating here. And the exposure that Ulster County has gotten has been unbelievable.
It has. That's true. And I did hear some of that conversation about New Paltz, having been a New Paltz resident for some 16 years. I left New Paltz in, 96, I think it was, and moved up here with my business at the time. But yeah, New Paltz is a tremendous draw as well. And it's only a hop, skip, and a jump to come up to the next exit for Kingston.
Well, that's one of the things is we've talked about is we're very fortunate here in the county to have 3 stops off the New York State Thruway. I mean, New Paltz, Kingston, and Saugerties.
Right.
I mean, it's so convenient for travelers south of here. So that's got to be a huge draw.
Yes, right. Absolutely true.
So it's interesting. How long has it taken to the commercial properties and that to get over the pandemic? Are you getting fairly close back to normal as far as being able to rent places and get people into some of your properties? Did it take a little bit of time?
It took a little bit of time, but it flattened out right away. I see no pullback at all in interest in properties. I haven't had a problem with anyone coming up and being concerned about that. They have a business, they want to get going, they want to jump on the bandwagon, and that seems to be what's happening right now.
I mean, there's not a lot of things that we can say came out of the pandemic, but obviously Ulster County, a lot of people from the city wanted to get out of New York City.
Right.
Not only businesses, but their homes. So in that regard, I guess it certainly helped the sales, the real estate sales here in the county.
Right, absolutely.
I see every day that how much, if you want to sell your house, I sold my house about just before the pandemic. Not great timing. I should have hung on a little bit, but that's something that certainly happened, right?
Sure. No, I see everything looking up as far as that's concerned. I listened to part of the conversation about the restaurants the prior gentleman was talking about. A number of restaurants were closed because of the COVID, because they couldn't deal with it. They couldn't deal with a lot of things. But there's a lot of business out there for the restaurants, and the ones that weathered the storm are mostly all doing quite well.
Been to Moonburger yet?
No, I haven't.
Well, man, you might want to show up a little before dinner time, like maybe 5-ish, if you could do a little early dinner there.
I've seen the lineup of cars.
They're doing very well.
Yeah.
Well, I can't believe that we've almost come to the conclusion of our half hour with Bob Baum. Bob, it's always a pleasure to see you. Keep up the good work.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to see you guys once again. I appreciate it.
Anytime. We'd love to have you here. So,
thanks for all the signage, Bob.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
And I think we may have a budding actor here, Mr. Dan Gaddis, so with that profound pipes that he has there. So I'm going to put him in touch with Harry Lipstein. So, Dan, thank you. Have a great weekend. It's always great seeing you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Bob Baum. And all of our guests today. We've had some pretty extraordinary guests today. And you've been with us here at KCR, Kingston Community Radio, AM 920 and 92.5 FM. Our guests today were Greg Herringya and Harry Lipstein and Bob Baum. And, of course, Rick Remsnyder. Thank you so much. How can we thank you for everything you've done for Ulster County and the surrounding areas? Thank you for sharing the morning with us and participating in Kingston Community Radio, KCR, AM 920 and 92.5 FM, WGHQ, and our live streaming on mykcr.org. This last portion of Kingston Community Radio was brought to you by the Friends of Kevin Cahill. As a strong advocate of local broadcasting, Assemblymember Cahill urges you to support Kingston Community Radio with your time and donations. Your contributions keep KCR vital and on the air at FM 92.5, AM 920, and on the web at mykcr.org. Please join Assemblymember Cahill and send your gifts of $10, $25 or more to Kingston Community Radio, Post Office Box 4364, Kingston, New York, 12402. Together, we are keeping KCR alive. And we invite you to be with us next Monday morning for a Medical Monday, and we wish you every success in growing and developing Kingston and all our neighboring communities. We now return you to Magic 92.5.